Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to Season 12 of the iRacing Israel League. We are live across both the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel and the Israel Racing League channel as well. So welcome along wherever you're choosing to get your pictures from. I'm Tom Dinner, alongside me for the entire season, barring, of course, any rounds where he may be ill or anything, is Ron Morns. And Ron, I know you've been on this series over the last season as well. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, you know, we'll go through all of the car changes and things that we've had coming into Season 12 in a moment's time. But it sounds, at least to me, like this series delivers some spectacular racing, and expecting maybe more of the same.
Oh yeah, this series has always had a high level of competition. A lot of these drivers race really hard, but they also race really clean. We saw this last year, especially driving little US F2000 cars around the schedule last year. In those cars, any little mistake going wheel to wheel with a driver could be disastrous, so we saw very clean driving last year, but also very great racing. I expect nothing different this year, even though we're driving in some very different cars. We got a different car lineup this year. We still have some of the same drivers. We have a different schedule, but I think it's going to be the same great racing product that we saw last year.
Exactly, and the first place we've gone to, obviously, because somehow I haven't mentioned it in my intro read, is Road Atlanta. And I mean, what a fantastic circuit this is. Home of the Petit Le Mans in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, a fantastic event over there. Of course, these MX5s racing over the course of that weekend in the IMSA series. We're in qualifying at the moment for this series then, and probably time to talk about our car changes. Two classes this year, Ron. We've got the Toyotas and we have got the MX5s, both of which are free content in the iRacing sim. Means these drivers will have raced them at some point in their iRacing career, you would have expected. And as well as slightly unorthodox, two different classes that both provide incredible racing.
Oh yeah, these cars, I mean, they are staples of weekly racing here on the iRacing platform. GR86 is a fairly new addition to the series, but it's proven itself to show some pretty good racing. It's been used a lot, and of course the MX5 Cup cars, they really need no introduction. They're probably the most popular genre of racing on iRacing, period. So it's nice having two cars. It's very nice having challenging cars, certainly. Speaking of challenging, as we see Yaron going off there right before we cut away to the number 30 of Zubarev. But yeah, it's I was talking about challenging cars. These cars are not easy to drive at all. I mean, it's not as difficult as, let's say, last season's Radicals, which I unfortunately had the duty to call throughout last season. But these cars, it's still not just cruising around the track. You still have to manage these cars, manage the tires, and you still have limits for these cars and for the grip, because if you just step slightly over the limit, you are screwed. Speaking of being screwed, there's Hasid going off there at turn 7. But yeah, these cars, it'll provide some very interesting racing, I feel. I think we're going to have some very interesting racing, as we're seeing so far in this qualifying session. We're seeing a lot of mistakes, so that could come into play later on tonight.
And yeah, I'm sure they will. 2 minutes to go just about in this qualifying session. 10 minutes overall that the drivers had to get the job done. And by the looks of things, it doesn't look like there's a great deal of cars on the circuit. It's 2 laps each, I should say, in this league. So you get 2 laps to use throughout the course of the qualifying session. At the moment, everyone being in the pits, hence the greyed out names on the timing screen. Lerman is on pole position at the moment then, with Gross in second. Day is in third. That is in your Toyota class, with Heskia, I should say. I apologise, in first for the Mazdas. Last, and Zubarev, your top 3. Pretty decent grid run. 16 cars, perhaps. Perhaps we would have wanted a few more, but pretty healthy, and I imagine only getting better throughout the course of the season.
We do have a very healthy field. I mean, it might not be the largest in the world, but it's still a decently sized field. I think it's going to put on a good race. It's also a very close field too. Even between the pole for the Toyotas in Pro Class and the other pole for the MX5s, it's still fairly close, all things considered. I think we might have some drivers mixing it up, and if you see some mistakes for the Toyotas, it'll be very interesting to see them try and carve through the field as this race develops.
And, well, if you would like the live timing for this event, you can go over to our SDK live timing, is linked in the description, and actually also one of our partners, well, actually it's part of the Apex Racing TV family of companies, really. It's one of our wings. Well, we've got a little ad read for them as well. You can add a virtual live HUD and iRacing essentially through SDK, show timing towers, enhance relative boxes, things like that. You can also stream to Twitch with the most complex overlay on iRacing. That is what our overlays and pictures are here, powered by as well today. As we've got about 10 seconds before we tick over into our race session here for the 20-minute feature, if I'm not mistaken. Ron, before we reverse the grid and do it all again after that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a challenge. I think we're gonna see a lot of mixed up fields, especially once we get into the second heat. We've always seen that the second heats are very competitive, but fairly mixed up field. I was expecting Alan Day to start higher, but he'll be starting in third. You can take us through the rest of the starting grid.
So Daniel Lerman is on pole position with Reem Gross in second in the 44 car. Alan Day was only a couple of tenths of a second back. He's a 4-time NASCAR Euro Series champion, starting in third with that number 1 car. Emir Mesilam is in the 777 in fourth, with Arnon Levy in fifth. Shiran Kaina in sixth, with Arthur Elbert and Michael Sherling making up the next row. Rounding out the Toyota grid, all but one, is Nadav Yaron and Yossi Gabe. In first for the Mazdas then is Gilad Hesika, with draw last in 12th, and second for the Mazdas, of course. Then it is Mark Zubarev and Yehuda Ben Yosef in 13th and 14th. Ty Stern is a Toyota, starting down in 15th in amongst the Mazda field, with Amir Hesed in 16th. Ofer Mazus is in 17th, with Yovel Marek in 18th. It's then Tyson Baba in 19th in a Toyota. Finally on the grid then is Valentin Boychuk, Aviad Yamakov and Asav Yaron. And, we mentioned actually, as if we have got another page of results here, I'm not too sure. We don't. No, we don't. There we go. That is off on the formation lap then, so we have a moment to talk. I said a 16-car grid that is not, it was healthy, but maybe wanted a few more. In fact, we've got a few more, haven't we, Ron, inside of the session, just not setting a lap time. We've got 22 on the grid. Now, I have to say, that is a perfectly healthy grid.
Oh, yeah, that is a very strong grid. It's going to be nice seeing a lot of cars on track. With a lot of cars, there's a lot of action to come with it as well. And with a fairly split field in terms of the other cars, you got the other Toyota starting at the front. Some Toyotas mixed in with the Mazdas too. And, it's not the largest gap in terms of the pace between these two cars. So it might create some interesting battles towards the midfield overall. But I think it's going to be, it's very nice having a full field. And I think it's going to lead to some fantastic racing tonight. We've got a very interesting track, obviously. Road Atlanta, it's personally one of my favorite tracks. As an American, I might be a bit biased when I say that's one of my favorite tracks in the world. One of my favorites to drive on, personally. It's just a fantastic track. Has a lot of mixed-up corners. You got fast corners, slow corners. You got one of the best chicanes in racing, I believe, down turn 10. After this very long straightaway, which was actually used to land airplanes back when, I believe it was the Whittington brothers owned this track. It was used to land planes, smuggling things that shouldn't be in the country, but maybe I shouldn't talk about that. This track, it's so mixed up. It's a very fun track to drive. You have a lot of elevation change as well. One thing that I think fans and ourselves will keep eyes on throughout this whole season is how the draft might come into effect. We've seen in many series how the draft can be very vital when it comes to trying to pull off an overtake, especially with a very long back straightaway like the one we have here in Road Atlanta. I think it will lead to some very interesting slipstream passes as we go through the chicane in turn 10.
Absolutely, particularly in the Mazdas as well, which are cars that almost drive like go-karts in terms of how they get to race them. Fantastic to watch the Spec 5 stuff, the Mazda MX5 stuff. Green flag is flying then in the hands of our leader, Daniel Lerman, to start the Season 12 of the Israel Racing League. Here we go, and it's a good start, almost single file as they go into turn 1. It's held by that number 32 car. You're following Alon Day, the series champion, as we see a challenge for the lead from Gross as they go down into turn 3 and turn 4, the chicane. As for the MX5, Zubarev have got past Hasika off of the start as everyone else sort of streams through. There is a change of position for second in the MX5s, as well as our Toyotas are trying to make their way through. Those were the Toyotas that started in the MX5 pack, on board with a 959 of Amir Hesed as they head their way up into the S's and then turn 5. One of the named corners on this circuit, the only named corner on this circuit aside from the dip, and we've got a couple of side-by-side moments as Zubarev gets to the lead of the race, Ron.
Yeah, that was a pretty even keel start. Saw a lot of single file, but of course, as we went through those first few corners, the cars started shuffling around for position. We might see some more shuffling here. We got 3 wide there in the back, went to 2 wide, then they nearly went to 3 wide again between 2 Mazdas and Toyota there. That was some interesting racing. Part of me was kind of expecting to see some more chaos on that restart, on that start, I should say. But it's very good seeing a clean start and also a very competitive start. We've seen some shuffling throughout this field.
Lerman.
Lerman's going off. Yeah, I see him dropping down the field. You gotta wonder where he went off there. Was that a mistake? That was just a spin. Going through turn 10, but trying not to have a bad rejoin. He is going to that is going to cost him dearly there. We're going to get a replay here. It was challenging for the lead there, very close, got up on the curb and just spun it all on his own. That's a tough break for him.
Yes, it is a tough break for him and not the ideal start for sure. These Toyotas are faster than the MX5s clearly, but can also be quite difficult to pass those MX5s. This is another angle of that replay then from our little helicopter drone shot. In the meantime, by the way, there was a change for the lead. We'll give you details on that in a moment. There's a spin once again for Lerman, and Day has got to the lead of the race ahead of Gross.
That is we were expecting Alan Day to contend. We saw him contending a lot through last season, even though it was in the little US F2000 cars, which are pretty much the complete opposite of these Toyota GR86s. But Alan Day, he's a fantastic racing driver.
Dick, off the track,
car
that's
going
Albert.
off there as well. Happy for him to keep it in a straight line because Going off in the grass there, that's never a good thing. He's, of course, going to have a very bad run this straightaway, so that's going to cost him dearly, but that could have been so much worse if his car gripped up. But back at the lead now, I was going to talk about how Alan Day usually contends for these races. We're seeing Gross contend with Alan Day for the lead. He's going to be on the inside. He's going to be a much farther a line than Lerman was going for the move a couple laps ago, but Gross retakes the lead as a very, that's a very textbook move there going into the chicane.
Absolutely textbook move. Chicane being probably better of the overtaking opportunities around this circuit. Baba is on his way through the MX5 field, but as you can see, a little bit more difficult than perhaps expected of these Toyotas. He's in fact trying to now put under pressure Kano as he goes off the circuit and into the wall on driver's left. That is some significant damage. He's lost the wheel, is straight into the pits, perhaps unsurprisingly so. Here goes Kano then in the 48, trying to get around the MX5, and he gets pushed off of the circuit. Both of them go off the track, ends in absolute tears, and the 48 just about able to hold on to the car. It's a remarkable save, actually, all things considered, and I think he just ran out of road there. These MX5s, Ron, as we see the replay of it, are so easy to understeer that I just don't think even if he'd seen Baba there was much he could have done to avoid hitting him.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. We're gonna get a replay here of Baba going off. Yeah, I think he tried to avoid contact there at the rear, but that ended in total disaster for him. That was a very dramatic series of corners for Connor. I think he got loose coming out of the turn 10 chicane and going into turn 11. That's very big dip there, so it's very easy to lose the rear as the rear gets light going over that hill. So that might have been what happened, because he had a very bad run coming out of that chicane and coming through the final couple of corners. We're seeing more action here at the front of the field. That was a very big moment there for Gross.
Oh, damn.
That was a massive snap. He is lucky to keep that thing going straight, but unfortunately for him, he is going to drop from the lead down to third, and he might lose another spot here. Levy is looking very close. He's going to look at the inside. That is very close. Got a nice look at the inside of Gross's car there. That was too close for comfort there, but very close racing so far. Very clean racing, besides a few incidents we've seen, but it's these cars, I mean, we're going to say how the MX5s were the ones to look out for in terms of the slipstream effect going down the main straightaway, but as we've seen, all of these cars have a very big slipstream effect on each other, and it's going to lead to a lot of passing for not just this race, but the whole season as well.
Absolutely, and the most hilarious thing about it is that Toyotas don't seem to be particularly too much faster in a straight line than the MX5s. It's just the fact that they carry so much more speed through the corners. They're not gapping them down the straight as much as you would perhaps expect, if at all, here as we're riding on board with Tal Stern in the number 11 car. He's looking at Elbert just ahead of him. Maybe we'll look to the inside of the 47 car. The beauty of being in traffic as he dives to the inside, can't quite get past on that occasion. The beauty of being in traffic is that he's able to really capitalise on any little hold-up that has been had. This is a battle further behind. You can see at the top of your picture between Marek and Hashika. Marek here is going to get the better of it in that 25 car for the time being. They're threading the needle with one of the Toyotas as well. That's the Toyota of Stern, if I'm not mistaken. Oh my word, there's a huge crash. There's 3, 4, 5 cars off, and the actual offending car, the number 11 of Tal Stern, gets away with it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really say anything because Tal Stern is the organizer of the series, but that was a interesting move. I don't know if he forgot the call that a spotter was giving him, telling him that there's a car there, but that was... it's just close quarters racing, man. You know, the slipstream effect, we're going to get a replay here. The slipstream effect, I think Tal wanted to go for the move here. You could see the Toyota ahead of him is kind of leaving him for dead, and then that ended in total disaster. Tal was very close to being collected in that himself, which for the drivers involved probably would have been cosmic justice as far as they're concerned, but that's a tough break for him. We saw him having some more dicing action there as we see. I think that's that's Baba off as well, and spinning around again. He's going to hit the wall. Yes, he taps the wall slightly. We do have one quick repair in this series, so that will come into effect throughout this year, especially when there's big accidents like we saw for Baba going through the final corner and the accident we saw last lap going down the back straightaway. But up at the front, actually, no, that's in the midfield. My apologies. We got a 3-car battle here. This is going to be very close going down the back straightaway. We have Sherling, sorry, my apologies for my hick pronunciation of names. He is looking for another position here. They're going to go side by side. What I saw earlier that I didn't want to interject while you were talking was we might see some bump drafting as well. That was some very interesting
3 wide. That's
maneuvering there.
fantastic.
3 wide. That is a very bold move, but I think it'll work out for them. They didn't get involved in any incident, but it's still going to be very close for them as they go up the hill and they're coming to the start-finish line to start another lap here.
On board with Yossi Gerbet in the 17 car, as you see now. They're around the outside as they go down into turn 1 braking zone. It's a hold around the outside, but the car on the inside just getting at the better of it. It's now Gerbet's turn to try and go down the inside of Euron in the 22 car, who himself is trying to have a look at Sherling for the top 5, but through the chicane they go. Not really any changes of position just yet. They're trying to stay line of stern for the time being, take the opportunity if it's able to present itself. Now up into turn 4, see if maybe there's a dive. It's a heavier braking zone than perhaps they would have expected, and by the looks of things, as Levy has managed to get past Meshalam, and Meshalam has managed to get back past Levy. This is the battle. They're side by side still in the 39 car. Levy around the outside will maybe look for the switchback here, or indeed he'll just look to follow it through all the way around the outside and into the podium position, saying thank you very much about that one. Nothing that really Meshalam could do when the car on the outside has got that much momentum going through the corner. Here he goes though in the slipstream. The Toyota is clearly proving themselves to have a fair bit of slipstream. Now he looks to the inside line as they go into the heavy braking zone of the final chicane. The 11-12 complex. Now down the inside goes Meshalam, is able to get that position, but can Levy get back around the outside if at all possible? Cut off at the ample opportunity, and that is perfect stuff between the two of them at the moment, and Meshalam holding on eventually onto that 3rd position.
And that was a very great battle. We saw it might continue here going into turn 1. They are very close. I don't think we're going to see a move here. We might. Ooh, that is very close between those two, but we're not going to see a move going into turn 1. What's interesting about that final corner, turn 7, going on to the massive back straightaways, is we're seeing very battle in the midfield. When I say midfield, the midfield for the Toyotas continuing on. These drivers are very close. These drivers are also giving each other a lot of respect, which we can appreciate, seeing some very good racing here. But what will be interesting to follow throughout this race is turn 7. Just having a great run there will really mean everything. But once again, I think maybe the position to be in going onto the back straightaway is just being behind. We're going to see Levy behind Meshalam. He is going to get a fantastic slipstream as long as he gets a good run out of this corner, which it looks like he has. It looks like he's going to try and go for the move. I think he's going to have a fantastic slipstream here. I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot of weaving so far this race. I'm surprised we haven't seen any weaving trying to break the slipstream. But we're going to see maybe a move on Meshalam from Levi. They are very close. It looks like Levi might be looking to go around the outside. Meshalam blocks that off and holds the position. Levi is very hard on the brakes. Those two manage to stay line of stern through the final series of these corners.
They have, and in the meantime, there's been an interesting development at the top of the MX5 field. Zubrov was showing us a 1.3-second gap to the car behind, but now he's back to 1.1. Confusing. Here he is now having an issue, and now around the outside, the 4 car goes, saying thank you very much. That's Sashiko to the lead of the MX5 race. Timing was going haywire for a second, then didn't quite see what happened. Let's now take a look at the replays. You see here Tal Stern in the 11 car, looking to go down the inside of our MX5 race leader, and will not directly force him onto the grass, and that was just enough for Zubarev to lose the lead of the race run.
That could have been disaster. That could have been absolutely disastrous for those two. It's very lucky for both of those drivers that they managed to get through that chicane without making any contact, well, severe contact at least. That was, I mean, you never want to go off on the grass, but especially at that corner where if you go off on the grass in the first segment, it's bound to end in some kind of disaster if there's a car in your way. Those two managed not to make any contact, which I can respect. You're seeing some shuffling for position here, but that was definitely a strange one. I think that was just good hard racing. Speaking of good hard racing, here we're back at the front between Gross and Day. Day is going to look for the move here going into the turn 10 chicane, and he's going to get the move done. He went a little hard on the brakes, but he manages to hold on to it and gets through the corner and gets the lead again.
Fought hard for that one, but I somehow don't think this is going to be over. Zubrev has got back to the lead of the MX5 race as well, as there's been an issue for Yaron, who's fallen down 2 positions, I would suspect. He went on the grass for a moment. Sherling has got past Gabay as well into 5th position. So all happening at the moment throughout this field. This is Sherling and Gabay. Hashika back past Zubrev, who got back past Hasika for a moment. Incredible stuff between the two of them. Here is that battle then. We've sort of caught the end of it. It won't be the end just yet. Zubrev now to the inside line in the MX5s, looking for the lead of that MX5 race. Gets to the inside line and gets the position as well. Ben Yosef is looking to get involved too. This is Zubrev just about in the lead against Hashika. Hashika trying to weave all around to try and find some chance to pull it himself alongside, but it's not quite happened for him yet. Marek has got past Boyshuk for 6th position as well. And this battle between the two of them is continuing on. Mark Zubrev perhaps feeling that he's driven the better race today. Got a little bit unlucky with that excursion onto the grass, and those MX5s really proving exactly what you said, Ron, in that the slipstream is going to be so important. Ben Yosef now gets past Hashika. Hashika back past Ben Yosef. They're going side by side. There is Ben Yosef on the inside line trying to find himself through, but Hashika holds it around the outside and is very happy about that. Those are 2 Toyotas as well getting themselves through, so that might just curtail Ben Yosef's podium, 2nd place quest, I should say, and lead quest for a moment. And I think the next thing to keep an eye on is Gabay and Sherling, as well as the battle for the lead.
I mean, we mentioned earlier how the Toyotas and the Mazdas were fairly equal on pace. I was thinking that Ben Yosef was going to get really left out for dead going down the back straightaway, as we're going to see a pass maybe here, maybe 2. Ooh, that's very close between those drivers. I was expecting Yosef to really get hung out to dry. He did get hung out to dry, as he's now behind both of the Toyotas and the other 2 on 2. The MX5 battle for the MX5 win. But as we're seeing another battle here back in the other Toyota midfield between Gabay and Sherling there. This has been the most interesting battle so far. I mean, obviously the MX5 battle was getting very hot that last lap, but these two have been very close to each other all day. Speaking of another battle, there's battles all over this place. We really can't keep up. And got Alan Day in the lead. We saw him pull off that move on Gross a couple laps ago, but we could see Gross try and retake the lead now with about 5 minutes left to go in Heat 1. This has been a very eventful heat. We've been getting whiplash from going from one battle to another. It's been absolutely fantastic so far, hopefully living up to all your expectations. Certainly living up to ours, as we're going to see Gross is getting very close. He's going to look around the outside. That is a bold move. He's going to be stuck on the outside through the first part. Is he? Nope, he backs out of it. I was going to say that'd be an interesting move to take. You would have the outside line, but if you manage to hold on to it, you'd be able to have the inside for the second part of the chicane. We're going to see these two go side by side. That's a very interesting one. Going into that chicane, if you're trying to pull off a move, would you want to be on the inside and then kind of get hung out to dry and possibly get shoved off the track exiting the chicane, or would you want to be on the outside? That's my question for you, Tom.
I want to be on the inside purely because of how many moves you've seen successful on the inside line into that corner. This is Mark Zubrev then. 3 minutes about left in the race. By my reckoning, that should be just about 2 laps as they cross the line. Mark Zubrev then has got some Toyotas behind him that have given him breathing room to Hashika in second place. Hashika's under pressure from Ben Yosef. That is a move further back between Kana and Lerman, who are getting very hot on the tails of Mark Zubrev, I should say. My apologies. And that is going to really frustrate him. Higher class cars in the background, slightly faster cars in the background that are really starting to upset you. And I find it fascinating that these Toyotas haven't exactly got straight through on the Mazdas. It's been fairly difficult for them to make the moves. They're just faster through the corners by the looks of things. That Mazda on the inside line, that is the race leader. Zubrev onto the grass, I think, and he's lost the position as well. Lost the lead of the MX5 race. Still plenty to play for here, though, as Ben Yosef goes through as well. Zubrev from first to third in the space of a corner or so. Here is the replay of what happened, and he just can't catch a break in this race. Mark Zubrev onto the curb. I think he must have been tagged by the car on that outside line. Has he? Yes. just a slight tag. I think he was already, to be honest with you, in all sorts of trouble with how that car was having weight transfer on him. But in the end, he's able to go and take a safer route through. Lerman up into 9th, Kana into 10th, Hashika then having to find himself building a gap between Ben Joseph and Zubrev. Day and Gross are side by side once again for the lead of the race in the Toyotas. Down the inside went Zubrev on Ben Joseph. Didn't get the position. Gross has made a mistake. And with 2 minutes to go in this race, Ron, we can see the replay of what happened here.
Oh, this is going to be very interesting to see. Gross tries it around the outside. Those two are going to be very close. I think Gross might have just made contact there. That was very close to taking both of those drivers out. That is a very tough break for Gross. And that might guarantee the win for Day. I mean, he has a 2-second gap now with less than 2 minutes to go. So that looks like it's really the win guaranteed for Day. He was my pick going into the race, and obviously... Certainly, the mistake for Gross certainly made it a lot easier for him to take the win. I say that, I might have just jinxed him. But I think that might be it for the battle for the lead. This is a battle here between two Mazdas here for 5th and 6th position here in the other Mazda fight. Yeah, the front pack, that was very close with those two. I believe it was, yeah. I mean, I'm at a loss for words, really. We've seen so much action in this race. I've been made speechless. I'm sure you have as well.
And, well, Alon Day is making his way around to start his final lap of the race. It should be his final lap. He'll get across the line in the next 40 seconds. I think we can safely say that much. That gives the call to all the other drivers as well. Zubrev 8/10 of a second behind Ben Joseph in a little battle for the MX5. Leaves Zubrev will feel like he's been a little bit hard done by here, I would suggest. And 2.3 seconds to gain plus a position in the space of the next lap is probably going to be a little bit too much for him. White flag flying then on the gantry on the right hand side. That much we can say here is Gilad Hashika then making his way around onto his final lap of the race as well. 1:35.7, fastest lap of the race by Lerman meanwhile.
I think Hashika and Day, I think those two are guaranteed to try and take the wins in their class for Heat 1 at least. It'll be interesting to see how they manage to go through the field in Heat 2, but that is then, and this is now, and we're seeing another battle between two Toyotas. This is, I believe, one of the closest battles on track throughout this entire field. This has been such a fascinating race to watch. We've seen a lot of very eyebrow-raising moves and some very hair-raising moments. So the big moment that this man Zubrev had going through that exact corner a couple laps ago, where he was very close to having an incident there and really did have an incident, and that cost him a chance at victory. He's had an up-and-down race. He'll probably be looking at some kind of redemption coming into Heat 2. We're going to get a replay here, and this is Mazouz going through the S's, going through that series of corners, and this is a very tricky corner to go off at. If you make a mistake, you are done for, and looks like he is done for. That was very close for, I believe that was Tal Cern coming through that incident. He was very lucky to escape that without having any incident. Alon Day and Gross have crossed the line to win. They take 1-2 in Toyotas with Mechelem. Fairly quiet third. We saw some battling for him, but it was fairly quiet after about the halfway mark of this race, and we're going to be following the rest of the field as they come across the checkered flag.
And Hashika will cross the line first in the MX5s. It's going to be a drag race for the line for second, though, between Zubrev and Ben Joseph. And Ben Joseph gets it. They're identical across the line.
That
I have never seen
unbelievable.
Anything like that in my life. Identical to 3 digits across the line. We need to see a replay of this. That is one of the rarest events you will ever see in a racing series. According to our timing, these two identical across the line, and we've whipped out the slow-mo for this one because I think it is only right. Look at that. Goodness me.
That is unbelievable. That just about summarizes how this series is. It's always been close racing, and we just saw as close as you can get, literally tied. That is unbelievable. Those two drivers certainly didn't have a perfect race for either one of them, but very perfect finish as far as we're concerned. That was absolutely unbelievable.
I don't even know what the ruling is there. Let's take a look. As there's no rest for the wicked, and I think unbelievable is often an overused word in commentary, but I think probably the exact time to use that word wrong, because that is something I've never seen before. Dal Stern starts on pole for this second race then, with Nadev Yaron in second. This is an inverse for the top 8. Yossi Gabe in third. Michael Scherling in fourth. Arnon Levy in fifth, with Amir Meshulam in sixth. William Gross starts in seventh, Alan Day in eighth, Daniel Lerman in ninth. Gilles Hashika starts on pole for the Mazdas with Yehuda Ben Yosef in 11th. Mark Zubarev starts in third in the Mazda's 12th overall. And then it is Yovel Marek, Valentin Boyshuk, Doro Last, Arthur Elbert, Shiran Kana, and Amir Heshed, your top 18. Then it's Aviad Yamakov and Offer Mazuz in 19th and 20th. Shaishan Baba and Asav Yaron are 21st and 22nd. So let's reset our brains, because I have to say, I think that is a rare occurrence in racing, to say the least. And let's look forward to this 25-minute reverse grid heat. This should also be more of the same. Now, the only more crazy thing that could happen here, Ron, is if it happened again.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, once for a tie really coming across the line, that's rare. If we did it twice in a row, that'd be unbelievable. I'd probably have to buy a lottery ticket after this, but I think this race is a completely different can of worms. Obviously, you have the field invert of the top 8, so that'll create some, certainly some chaos at the start, and maybe some chaos at the start. I don't want to make too many assumptions about these drivers. Obviously, these drivers race very clean, so hopefully we don't see any chaos, but with the field invert, you never know. And plus, as you can see on your screens, a lot darker now. We are running in the night. The headlights are blaring on these MX5s and Toyota GR86s. It'll be interesting to see how different the track conditions are in terms of temperature, in terms of just the way the grip is. And plus, a lot of these drivers are probably going to look for some kind of retribution after the way their first races went. I'm sure Baba is probably going to look for some kind of comeback after the frankly disastrous way his first race went. A Day starting in 8th is going to look to try and do a sweep. Every race I've covered with this series, Day has always taken has had a fairly comfortable first heat, and then as soon as that field invert hits, he usually runs into some kind of trouble. So hopefully he doesn't get hit by a falling anvil for this second heat. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting storylines, just like we saw in Heat 1.
And for those wondering, under the Formula 1 regulations, if 2 drivers cross the line at exactly the same time, then prizes get shared. So I wonder if our drivers here are going to be thinking about that when we get to offering out points and things. So actually,
I think we need a coin toss. I think
a
that's
coin
what we
toss.
should
That
do.
might sort it. Here we go then. Off to the start of our second race. Racing into the night time at Road Atlanta. Green flag is a call from the spotter in the driver's ear. Green flag flies on the gantry as well, and we're underway for the second race of the season inside of the Israel Racing lead. Is a good start for the pole sitter, who keeps it into turn 1. Further back there are Squabbles, the 777, looking around the outside.
Whoa.
There goes Day, looking for
That
2
is
of them
bold.
around the outside.
That
It's
is very
bold, it's
close. That's
brave, and I think
contact.
he's got away with it. There's contact further back, but everyone is through without a proper scrape or bump. That is the 777 car, as we look back to see Dave flying on into the distance, catching up to the rest of this pack. There's a battle between Hashika and Ben Yosef, as there was in the previous race for first position in this one. And overall,
he got some air there.
Relatively clean start.
Yeah, I think I saw Ben Yosef get a little bit of air there. Really clean start for a lot of these drivers. That was a very bold move from Alan Day. I'm not sure if it was the smartest move. That was very close between those two. But it worked out for him. You know, we saw a bit of contact between the 2 drivers that he went 3 wide with. But that was very impressive to go 3 wide at that section of the track. It's also very impressive going 3 wide here. We have Tal Stern, who started this race from the pole. We also have Yaron and Gabe. And now we have Sherlin getting involved. And we have a 4-car, really a 5-car pack here. This is going to be very interesting here. That is very close. That was an interesting block there. Those 5 cars are very close. It's basically 6 now. That is unbelievable how they managed to get through that cleanly.
It's down Stern on the outside line in the 11 car. Looks to hold on to third position. Does do so narrowly, but there's 3 wide for the back. As Alan looks to go around the outside. He can't do so. He's
oh no!
And there's 3 or 4 of them rounded into the wall. Now the Mazda's coming in to try and hold on to this. That is close. That is very, very close indeed. And, well, could have ended a lot worse than it did, to be fair. Only 4 cars going off. Only 4 cars going off. Ben Joseph pulled out a second, by the way, through all of that carnage. You're on now. We'll start to think, well, actually, I've got a chance at winning this race. Sherling will as well. Here is a replay then of what just happened. They were 3 wide here. You can see Day on the outside. Lerman is the person that we're following on the camera. The green car there got tagged. Then the 777 went into Day, and everyone just turned around. In fact, they're quite lucky that only 3 cars actually got properly involved in that run.
Yeah, that could have been absolutely disastrous for the Mazdas and the other drivers we saw involved in that incident as it was. Oh man, that was crazy. 3 wide going through there as we see some more being and banging. As we see another car spun off there, multiple cars spinning off. There's absolute anarchy here at the start of this race. I said there's going to be some chaos, and I guess my prediction was proven right, and another prediction I made right was Alan Day unfortunately getting hit by another falling anvil. He's still definitely in contention. We're going to get a replay here of the whole field pincer movement there going through the series at the bottom of the track of turn 6 and 7. That was an absolutely chaotic start. Getting back to the point I was making that day, as we see more contact there, more being and banging there. Alan Day, I said before the start of the race during the formation lap that Day tends to get hit by a falling anvil during these second heats, and proved my point right there. Really nothing he could do. It looked like the 77 just lost it on the curb, and Alan Day really had nothing to do and just got involved. Really, though, it wasn't his fault, but it still definitely set him back. There's certainly a lot of time to play. I mean, we're only 3 minutes into this 20-minute heaters. We're seeing cars going off. That was Ben Joseph there. That was spun around. I believe that was in the that was coming out of turn 3 or 4, I believe. Yeah, we're gonna get a replay here. That's very close. That's Day, right as I was talking about Day. Joseph gets spun. That is a tough break for him. Oh, and those 2 might have touched there slightly. I think it wasn't enough. I don't think it was hard enough contact to give those 2 damage, but they definitely don't have clean pants after that.
A glorious picture, Ron, I have to say. That one, the imagery of that is quite superb. Here we go for the battle for the lead of the race. Then in the Toyotas, it's Sherling, Euron, and Gross, and they're practically bump drafting each other down the straight into the final chicane. And that's a very aggressive defense from Sherling. He's going to allow someone around his outside, though. If he's not careful, can Euron go for the 2 at once? He's certainly going to take the 1 offer, maybe the second as well. Gross goes into second position now, turns his attention to Sherling, who is in the lead of this race. Through they go the final corner now, really having to stick in the slipstream, try and find himself a way through if at all possible. Here you go then. Sherling is going to defend, wants the lead of this 20-minute feature race. All the best he can around the outside. Goes Reem Gross, and he's not quite going to have the legs. Sherling holds on to it, but that was the fastest lap of the race from Gross. Goodbye has got past Stern. That's in the very top of your picture there. You can see Goodbye in the green car just about getting through into 4th position. Meanwhile, I'll tell you who is having a very good day indeed. Zubrev, 8 seconds to in his advantage.
Yeah, that Zubrev, he's definitely looking for some kind of redemption. I mean, Heat 1, that was really chaotic for him. He probably should have won that race. Of course, ended up not winning that race after a few incidents and some really tough breaks for him. So he's definitely making up for it, having a fairly quiet race. Meanwhile, throughout this entire field, it is not quiet at all. We're seeing this front pack here very close between these drivers. This is going to be another fantastic series of corners as we go down the back straightaway, enter the turn 10 chicane, and then go through the final couple of corners. We saw Sherling have a massive moment. He got a bit of a bump there from, I believe it was either Gross or Yaron, coming into turn 10. That was nearly disaster for him. And speaking of that battle at the front, it looks like Gross is going to try and take the lead here, and he does with a powerful move going into the turn 10 chicane. Sherling now drops back to second, and he might be at risk at losing another position or maybe two with Yaron. I think he might have a good run coming on to the main straightaway. This is going to be interesting. I don't think he's close enough. Trying to get another position there and drop Sherling back to third. These drivers are still very close, and we still have a pretty long way to go through this race. We're only like a tick over a quarter into this race, and we've already seen just as much action as we really saw throughout Heat 1 entirely, and that had an equal finish. So we are setting ourselves up for a properly amazing race.
13 minutes to go in this one then, and it is Uran in third. Oh, jumping! Oh my dearie me, jumping all over the curb, and is able to hold on to the car. A fantastic save, but it won't do much as he loses out on fourth position here as well to Stern. Won't do much to encourage him, because that is a nasty little bit of air. In real life, that would absolutely destroy your suspension, but he's got away with it here. Here he goes, trying for the counter-attack then on Stern. Takes a lot of guts to be able to go in the air one moment and then overtake a rival in another. Here he goes through into fourth position, then trying to now get a comeback trail back onto the podium. That unleashes Sherling to have a real go at Gross, if at all possible. Here goes Stern, then trying to get back ahead of Yaron as they go down into the chicane. He's not quite alongside and not quite able to outbrake his rival either. It's a replay for you, actually. We're able to get up. I was going to move on to another point, but here we go. Looking at what happens to Nadav. Yaron, as he goes through the chicane, I think just gets it wrong onto the curb.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just understeers, and that is
still
nasty.
See the air clip the wall slightly. I think he'll get away with that in terms of damage. That wasn't the biggest wall hit in the world, certainly. As we're seeing those two going side by side. Stern, it looks like Stern stays in fifth position, but Yaron, I'm sure he's going to try and get back to the front, as we're seeing another mistake, him going two wheels into the grass, the other two on the curb. So a couple big moments here for Yaron in the last few laps. Here we are, another battle in this pack. That is with the Mazdas for fourth and fifth position here. That is very close between those two, but looks like they stayed line astern as they were before we cut to this battle.
Marek will look to perhaps the outside here into the next corner. In fact, he just stays in the slipstream that we've mentioned and emphasised of how important it is in these Mazda MX5 cars. And obviously, you're not having to do the train racing that you would do in something like the MX5 Championship in IMSA, where they're mainly racing, of course, elsewhere across the world. So really able to utilise that slipstream to your advantage. Here is Yaron then under pressure from Stern once again. This time Stern goes to the outside. Day is getting involved as well, going through that turn 11-12 chicane for the final time. Turn 10-11 chicane for the final time, I should say, for the next time. I should say halfway through this race, and it's going to be Yaron who gets there. Day gets past Stern as well. So that is a fantastic move from him, the number one car, trying to scythe his way back through the field. Marek has got back past Hased. They are both side by side, though. This is Arthur Elbert, actually. I apologise, trying to get through into a podium position on Ben Joseph. Does exactly that. He won't be in a podium position, my apologies. He's in a Toyota going through the field. That is my bad. I thought it was a bit weird that there was an 8 next to his name. Didn't really question it for a moment, but perhaps I should have done. So your top three as we head into the second half of this race 2 is Gross, Sherling and Gabay.
This has been a fantastic race, as we're seeing Baba with a little bit of a moment there. He's had a interesting race so far. He's made up a couple spots, so you got to respect him for that. It looks like he's going to try and get another spot, although it won't be for class. It will be overall. He's going to try and look for a move on the number 71 Mazda. That is going to be very close between those two. I don't think he's going to try and go for the move going into turn 1. That'd be a very close one. They are very close to contact there going into turn 1. Very close to contact coming out of turn 1. Oh, that was, I don't know why the 71 Mazda there hit the brakes. I guess that was a strange move from him. Not sure what was going on there. Might have had a big moment and tried to slam on the brakes to try and make sure he didn't spin. But we've seen some battles throughout this field, and we're seeing another battle between Day and Yaron. Day is going to have the outside. It's like Heat 1, except these two are battling for 4th and 5th.
Oh!
And there's contact there! And Day somehow keeps it out of the barrier, and I jinxed it. He kept it out of the barrier at first, then came back around trying to avoid the other cars that were coming towards him, and then ended up in the barrier regardless. So tough break for Alan Day. It looked like he was going to come back through the field and maybe have a chance at a podium or possibly even a win in this race. We're going to get a replay here. That just looked like some good hard racing here. We're going to get a replay overview here, overhead view from the virtual helicopter. Day drifts across trying to block him, and that's a tricky one. I'm not sure if Day really knew how close Yaron was to him there, because that was I'm not sure about that incident. I think it was probably might have to lay the blame there on Day, because he kind of I don't want to say it too explicitly, but it seemed like he kind of wrecked himself there. Certainly a tough break for him. You can point fingers whatever you want. Regardless, Day's race is effectively ruined. I think he's not going to be in contention at all. I'm sure he probably has some kind of damage, but just way too far back at this point to try and make anything out of this race.
Kainer is having a look at Stern as they go up into, I think that's turn 11 and 12, is it not? With having a track map directly in front of me. It looks like it might be actually that chicane. And we'll see if he's able to do anything about it. And I say turn 11 and 12. It is actually just a turn 11 chicane, isn't it? It's a little bit weird the way they work it like that. And maybe Day is going to, or Kano, I apologise, is going to find himself a way around. Here he goes, going the long way around, and he's going to go all the way around. Kano is able to get through. That is a fantastic move, isn't it? Really is. Last is past Hesed as well. We've got 7 minutes to go in this race. Still trying to come back at him, though, is Stern. Maybe looking to the outside line. I think there's a little bit of a mistake from Kano. That is going to allow Stern to have the perfect opportunity to have a run all the way around the outside. He's not quite able to find the legs as his mate did on the previous occasion. Kano here still holding this out, though, is they're side by side pretty much through the entirety. And there's a bit of contact as well. The 48 car holding on to 5th position, though, at the moment. And I think a top 5 would wrap up a pretty decent day for him, wouldn't you say, Ron?
Definitely. I think having a top 5 in the series with how close and how chaotic the racing has been throughout this night overall, even including Heat 1, that would be a massive achievement. And it looks like it's definitely going to be a really heated battle between those two. It looks like Day, he might not be involved. I mean, he's still a very fast driver. We've seen him do a lot of great stuff in the series, so I think he might have a shot at getting involved in this battle. We see him at the back, a shot there, just exiting onto the back straightaway, but it looks like these two are really going to be involved in this battle between Connor and Stern. Stern, he didn't have the best of Heat 1s, but Heat 2, obviously, with the field reverse, he led at the start, well, started from the pole, led a couple laps. He's dropped back a little bit, but he's still having a very good race. Speaking of good race, we have some good racing here. Hased looked at a move there going into the series of turns 6 and 7 at the bottom end of the track, but that's not going to be a worthwhile move. I think it was way too far back, but he's still going to be in the slipstream of last. Going down the back straightaway, this might be a 3-car battle sooner rather than later here. This is going to be very tight between these two, and Hased pulls out. It looks like he's going to try and get that move done well before he even gets into the turn 10 chicane. They're still going side by side, and he gets the move done. It's a little bit hard into that corner, way too hard into that corner, and that's going to be wall contact. Ooh, nearly. He kept it out of the wall. That is a very tough break for Hased. That was... He didn't really have to go into that corner as hard as he did. He really had the move done well before he got into that corner. He was ahead there, but went into the brakes, went into the corner way too hard and cost him dearly there.
Lonely day for Mark Zubrev. 28-second advantage over the next car. In fact, about 36-second advantage over the next car in his class. 28-second advantage over the Toyota that is behind him. As we said, the Toyotas do seem to be a little bit faster than the Mazdas at the moment. I think by about a second or so. But the Mazda's clearly holding their own in that regard. It's not dramatic either way. This is a battle then. It's the 707 looking to get past last. In fact, it's last trying to get past the 707. That's exactly what has happened. Draw last into the top 5. Marek has got past Ben Yosef in the meantime, as we've got 3.5 minutes to go. There's someone catching a bit of grass in the top of your picture. Difficult thing to do on iRacing, a side-by-side between Yovel, Marek and Ben Yosef. Ben Yosef will go down the inside, as here they go, just about holding on to the position is Marek into the turn 10 and 11 chicane, and I think he'll be pretty happy with that one. A top 3 that is hard earned, a top 3 that is well earned, and well, 3 minutes to go in this race. Depending on where our leader of Gross is, that will depend on how many laps left we have got. I think as he's crossing the line in just a moment's time, is he not? Unless I'm getting my track knowledge completely wrong. No, he's not. He's just started a lap. So 2 laps, I would suggest, Ron. He won't take the right flag this time, but I'll take the right flag next time by.
Yep, I believe so. So we're going down the back straightaway now. Gross, this is definitely redemption from how Heat 1 ended. It certainly wasn't a bad heat by any means, but I think the mistake he had while battling for the lead with Day last heat, really, I think that might have ate away at him a little bit in the small, low gap we had between those 2 heat races, and I think he decided to put his head down and try and have the best heat he could. He, of course, had some battling. It definitely didn't fall on his lap. He definitely had to earn it, and he's going to take the 2 to go this time by. Very good drive from him. I shouldn't say that. I said that with Day last time, and I was really worried about jinxing him. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say it's a surefire win, but definitely looks good as we have 2 laps to go, and Sherling is in second, nearly 3 seconds behind Gross. So unless something major happens, it looks like Gross is really able to cruise for these final few laps here.
And, well, you say cruise, he was faster on that last lap by a few tenths of a second. In fact, by a second than Michael Sterling. So he'll be very happy with how that has worked out for himself. So really, no contest to the lead. Really in this race, but there's definitely a contest here. It's Baba versus Levy. Levy will get down the inside potentially. Here he goes, braking as late as he can and eventually avoiding the 707 MX5 on driver's right. So not able to get the position, but as well to avoid the Mazda that was looking ever imposing on him. And, well, still trying to keep an eye on where Gross is as we go into a minute left into this race. Obviously, we know he won't take the white flag this time. But in fact, no, he will take the white flag this time by. I apologise. He won't take the checker flag this time by. Here goes Tyson Baba then, trying to defend from that 39 of Levy. Not quite able to do it on this occasion, as here around the outside goes Levy. Can he pull alongside is the question, and the answer is quite colossally no at the moment.
That's still very close, though. I think that might be the battle to look out for. Another battle to look out for here. I said that Day's race wasn't going to amount to too much after the incident we saw with him. We're going to see Gross take the white flag this time by. Pretty surefire win from him. He's now 3 seconds ahead. So I said that he could cruise. He's definitely not cruising towards the end of this race, but we've got some interesting battles going on. We saw on the time screens a battle between Levi and Baba. They're swapping positions. We also have a battle with Day and Stern coming through the final corner side by side. Day, it looks like he is going to grab the 6th position from Stern. That is a very good recovery after the very difficult race that he's had. And we're back following the battle between Levi and Baba. These 2 are very close. I believe they are heading down the back straightaway. Yes, they are. So this will be interesting to see who will be the last of the late breakers going into the turn 10 chicane. These 2 are certainly not going to give up, especially now as they're going to take the white flag this time around. Both of them are pretty equal on the brakes. Baba is going to have the inside, but he might be the victim of a switchback. No, he is not. But Levi is going to have a very good run coming out of that final corner. They're going to go side by side coming around the last corner. They're going to take the white flag this time around. And we got the 2 Mazdas behind them battling. Those 2 might be involved in this battle between the 2 of Baba and Levi. We've got a Mazda battle. That was very close. That was very close between those 2. And Tal Stern is off. He hits the inside wall, spinning coming out of the first corner. Levi off. My apologies. I'm getting the drivers all confused now. This has been so hectic. I'm confusing drivers. I don't even know where I am on track. I don't even know where I am in the world. This is absolutely hectic. We're going to get a replay here. Levi tried to give him a little boot scoon boogie coming around turn one, but it was disastrous for him. As we go back to the front, Gross takes the win. Sherling in second. Yaron is going to take a comfortable third. Well, not very comfortable third, but still. Oh, I'm nearly out of breath.
It's incredible. It is Mark Zubrev rounding the final corner now to take the checkered flag and perhaps a little bit of redemption as well in the Mazda MX5s after a perilously unlucky previous race. Wins in this one. Elbert crossed the line in 8th for the Toyotas. Hashika in 2nd for the Mazdas. Marek will finish in 3rd, I am sure. This is Ben Joseph. Had a difficult race 2 here, but overall, as everyone else sort of filters through, no major battles going on. Perhaps this one the best between Baba and Bushok, although they're definitely in different races, one being a Toyota and one being a Mazda. I'll get your results for you in a moment, and any interviews if the drivers are feeling particularly chatty. Not sure how chatty drivers are in this league. I know some of them can't wait to get on the microphone. As last couple crossing the line here. Levy will get classified in 10th by the looks of things. Lerman's falling down the order, and in fact, so is Hesed, I should say. Amir Hesed spins around and is going to lose a couple of positions as well. So that is frustrating from his perspective. Let's take a replay and a look at what happened there. Did he just get onto the grass? What happened down into the final chicane? He's got onto the curb, and then he's been spinning it all on his own.
That was a strange one. I think just cooked the rear tires throughout the 20 minutes of this heat. Just coming around one of the final few corners, just lost it all on his own. Tough break for him.
Definitely a tough break for him. That is it then. And we can give you all of your results and standings and stuff after race 2 of this season 12 of the Israel Racing League. So Toyota's first up, it's Reem Gross winning from Michael Sherling. Nadav Yaron in 3rd. Yossi Gabay finishes in 4th with Shirin Kaner, I should say, rounding out the top 5. Alon Day is in 6th with Ty Stern in 7th. Mark Zubrev wins in the Toyotas with Arthur Elbert in 9th in the Mazdas. Then it is Gilad Hashika in 10th and 2nd for the Mazdas. Yovel Marek makes the rest of the podium behind him with Ben Joseph and Boyshuk sandwiching Baba for your 12th to 14th overall positions. Your last is in 15th with Arnon Levy, 16th, 17th is Daniel Lerman, and 18th Amir Hesed. Then to round out the grid, it is Aviad Yarakuf, Amir Meshulam, Ofer Bazuz, and Asav Yaron. So we're going to see if we have any interviews in a moment. I think we're sort of obliged to give it at least a couple of minutes, Ron. So I'll ask you a question. In fact, before I ask you a question, let me just plug another one of our sponsors, one of our other Apex Racing Academy, our Apex Racing companies, I should say, Apex Racing Academy, where you can go and find 29 data packs of setups, track guides, VRS integration, weekly group coaching sessions, and more. Search Apex Racing Academy. And to tie into that, you can also search Virtual Racing School, which offers 50 plus data packs, road and oval racing setups, track guides, and all of that good stuff. So we do have an interview, Ron. It's Tal Stern, and as we drag him in, I'll let you say hello to him.
How's it going, Tal? We saw a very interesting 2 heats for you. How was it out there?
Hello and good evening. First of all, yes, I have a very good start on the second race when I was first, but I lost the pace very quickly and hit by Rehem, and it is what it is. But I'm happy to say we start a very interesting season with 2 different categories, the Toyota and the Mazda. It's the first time we split the AM and the Pro category by different cars. And I hope we have a very interesting season.
Oh yeah, this was pretty much the best start we could have. We had a even keel finish for 2 drivers in Mazdas, and we also saw some very fantastic racing. So you chose well for this season. I think we're going to have a very exciting season this year, and I'll pass it over to Tom for some questions.
So thank you. I want to say thank you and welcome back for season 12, and hope we have a great time.
Well, Tal, I don't really have any questions other than congratulations on today, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
I think I do have one question though, and it's kind of tying back to Heat 1. I think we saw a incident going down the back straightaway between, I believe it was you and it could have been another Toyota, it might have been another MX5, but I kind of want to go back to that. You were very close to getting involved in that accident. I'm sure you were looking at your mirror and seeing that car come very close to you spinning across the track. What was the feeling through there? Was it just complete hard in the math, or were you kind of just trying to block it out of your head and just mash the gas and try and avoid it?
Yeah, actually, we've gone 3 wide when I was in the middle. By left, it was Ofer Mazuz that we have a little touch. I tried to fix a little to my right and hit the car that was right for me, and he kills everyone. And very good, very lucky to me. I made it. They don't.
Oh, you definitely did. That was definitely a lucky escape, and it led to a very interesting night of racing. We saw some fantastic battling. We saw a little bit of chaos throughout the field. I think we saw a very interesting race. Tal, thank you. I hope you had a lot of fun out there, and I hope you have some very great races throughout the rest of the season. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tal, for joining us, and speak to you soon. And next up, we've got Reem Gross for a very quick interview because we're sort of running out of time already over the hour a little bit. So, Reem, welcome to the broadcast. Win in the second race. You must be pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, pretty happy but tired. So hard.
Yeah, and it definitely looked it out there. How are you finding the new cars and the new sort of system for this league?
It's really fun because the car almost equal. The car is slower than previous cars, so the gaps are closing. So I can fight with a lot of people, and it's really fun. Really good start of the season.
And finally, I have to ask: are you seeing yourself as in championship contention this year?
Yeah, sure. This is my goal.
Thank you very much for joining us, Reem, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
So that is all we've got time for. Thank you all very much for joining us here for this Israel Racing League event. I've been Tom Dillon. Alongside me has been Ron Bournes, and we'll see you to do it all again in 2 weeks' time. Good night.